let's talk about Jackson here for a second, because I did say I felt it in my plums that I thought Jackson would have a multi-hit game today. I did. But I'll tell you what, I actually really liked his at-bats despite the results when you look at it. You can look up and go, 0-for-3 and a walk. The strikeout with the bases loaded with a pitch right down the cock. And you're sitting there going, man, what the hell's going on? But in my mind, first at-bat, got up in the count, 2-0 count, right? I believe is what it was. Yeah. And grounds out. So like he's seeing the ball, putting himself in positions, not having the results. Yes, goes down on the second at bat. And the third at bat, specifically against that lefty, the at bat was really second at bat was the line out. And you're right? The second bat was the line out?
Yeah. And just real quick on that, I did just look it up on StatCast. 96 his second at bat with the guy on third, RBI opportunity, 96 miles an hour exit velocity, had a 570 expected batting average. That's telling me hits it hard, hit it just in the wrong spot. It's an unlucky hit, but you love to see that in a big situation. Jackson made contact and was not only solid contact that usually is going to get that run in.
Yeah. So again, like to the context of it, yes, the results look even more magnified because he doesn't have the hit, right? So he has the one hit. So you're going, man, these at bats suck, but they're really not bad at bats. Yes, the strikeouts are higher than you'd want, obviously, but it's not like he's going up there and swinging and missing and not taking the tough pitches. If he was swinging at bad pitches consistently, I'd be concerned. He's chasing a little bit, but the bigger part is he's getting unlucky with the hits. And then when he has a chance to put a good swing or a pitch in the zone, he's not taking advantage of it. And I actually saw, I think Paul Meccano put this up. Where is that? Yeah, I'm going to put it up right here. Because I think this is a really good context of what I'm talking about. And hopefully this can make more sense to people. And if I can share my screen properly. Hey, now, stop traffic. Can you guys see it?
Yep.
We good?
Yep.
Okay. So here's my example here. If I can zoom in on the screen. Come on, Ryan. Get on in there. Get up in there. Okay, so everyone, obviously, you're going to look at that one, number 6, right down the middle and go, man, that's the cock shot. Why didn't you swing at that? Well, there's a 3-2 count, tough lefty, bases loaded. And when you're not as confident right now and you're trying to think about maybe he's going to throw an off-speed pitch because he's had pretty good control. Look at the 3 pitches he threw on the outside corner. One of them was called a strike, and the other 2 that Jackson took very well for balls, right? So it's in the back of your mind, but when you're not as confident right now because things aren't going right, every hitter has this, where you take a pitch and the fan's going to sit there and go, like, holy shirts and pants, dude, that ball's right there. Why aren't you swinging? I'm telling you, every hitter goes through it where you just have a doubt that it goes into your mind, it stops everything. If Jackson was rolling on all cylinders, or just the same thing, I'll use Cowser the same way. I thought Cowser last year took a lot more pitches that he could hit because he wasn't as comfortable with what he was doing. Now you're seeing the Cowser that's hitting anything, anywhere, and he's very confident. Jackson doesn't have his confidence right now, but his eye at the plate is still elite. It just hasn't come together. I argued today that 3 of his at-bats today were really good, that I really was happy with. But the reality is you look up and go, here's another hitless outing for Jackson, but it's not as simple as that. But I'm with you guys. This game's hard. And I guess what I'll say, I can sit up here, not that I'm proud of it, but if you play baseball long enough, you go through these slumps. And the thing that sucks, the shit sucks. That's what I hate the most, is that I know what he's going through. But, man, I'm not going to get pessimistic on the kid for getting off to a rough start while a team's winning. I'm just not. I mean, that's what we talked about.
For me, you can even look at this graph right here, and I think, Ryan, you were the one who said it, where with the umpires and some of the calls that are being made, and even especially when Jackson is up there, and there is a ball that is called a strike maybe on the outside portion of the plate, if you're Jackson, you now have to say, all right, they're calling that. So now I have to protect the plate, and I have to make sure that doesn't happen again. And it's a lot of things moving at once. And for Jackson, as we've talked about, we've had multiple guests come on this show and talk about it too. MLB pitching is not, for the most part, very rare. It's not in the minor leagues. There is an adjustment here, but we're seeing improvement, even though it's not translating to hits necessarily, an average and all of that. I think the defense has been much, much, much improved over the course of his starts. We're seeing him hit balls really hard. It's just they're not going to the right places. So I get that the average isn't great. I get the hits aren't coming, but I feel something eventually is going to happen. He's too talented. And also, I see my Twitter profile picture in the corner of that thing in the Lamar Jackson. I see I'm the first Twitter profile picture down there. I see that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, in this economy. Last thing I'll say right here, because I see some comments and see money. I get it. You're saying no shot off speed's coming. Here's the thing with baseball. Yeah, 3-2 count. Maybe you can sell out, bases juiced. But also on the flip side, if you're a hitter that's not going well and things happen, you might not pick it up as well. And some guys might have the nuts to throw a 3-2 breaking ball. It happens a lot more than it did years ago. Okay, but the biggest thing that I take away from it, whether Jackson was fully thinking breaking ball or not, he had a doubt in his mind. He had a doubt in his mind when he was going to hit. And when you have a doubt in your mind that's going to make you second guess, you are going to take pitches, because I can 1,000% guarantee he walked back to the dugout and went, why the hell didn't I swing there? Why? It's right there. But that's the biggest thing, is compartmentalize, and that's what I'm trying to explain as a hitter on that sense. At that level, you sit there and you have moments even at the highest level of how the hell did I get in this? And part of it goes from you just being domed up. But the biggest thing, whether it's you're thinking breaking ball or you just have a second doubt that blocks you from trusting your instincts and just seeing the ball, you're going to see more of those types of things. Like that to me was the first time really middle. Jackson struck out some pitches on the outside corner, some tough pitches maybe out of the zone. That one was a full case of he didn't have his trust when he needed it in that situation. And the thing that sucks is he did all the hard work to get the 3-2. He battled his ass off just to take the best pitch he saw right down the middle. That's personally what I see.
And I want to bring this up too. Okay, so Jackson gets in a 3-2 count. What I also want people to understand is Cowser 2 batters before walks on 4 pitches. Then you have Jordan Westburg come up, the next batter with the bases loaded, same exact situation as Jackson, full count, literally the same thing. What does he do? He threw a changeup, I believe, some sort of off speed, low, right below the strike zone. The ball, that walk. So Jackson finds himself in the exact same situation. Guy throws a fastball over the heart. Then we go the next batter. Gunnar Henderson strikes out on a very, very tough pitch that I think when you ask, you look at it, it was a ball. It was lower than Jordan Westburg's ball that he took, but the pitcher kind of established that in 3-2 counts, he was looking to get guys to chase. He wanted to kind of play below the zone, see if he could get them to roll over and get out of the inning. I think when he was just Jackson, when he went to the plate, especially in a 3-2 count, based off of previously, they wanted to see he wanted to see something low. He expected maybe an opportunity for that to be a walk and get an RBI that way.
Yeah. I mean, here, this is the reality. And Zach, take it from a pitcher and a guy that's been in the big leagues. And we're talking about, hey, when it's back and forth game, you get beat, you tip your cap and say, hey, it is what it is. And where's Zach's comment earlier? Realizing how quick of a decision you have to make. And this is why I'm saying the preparation that goes into hitting, you have this much time. We'll use Rocco's reference. Rocco likes to get the measuring stick out, right? For different reasons. But anyway, yeah, any chance to get on Rocco too. But the amount of time you have to make a decision, but if you have to make a decision when you're not trusting your overall instincts as a player, it makes it so damn hard. Like baseball is so damn hard. Imagine you're having a conflicting battle in your mind where you can't go out there and just let yourself do what you have to do. But like I said, I really like his takes. I really like where Jackson is, and I would feel way different about Jackson if he was not seeing the ball as well as he was not putting together some good swings, then I'd have some concerns. It's all right there. It's just so much more magnified because everyone's expecting him. We talked about this. Guys, how do we view Gunnar Henderson? What, Brad, why don't you start? How do you view Gunnar Henderson?
He's all right.
Okay. Yeah, he's all right. So MVP type player?
Three letters.
He's going to be an MVP, whether it's this year or within the next 5 years. I think he's going to be an MVP, and he's already showing those types of numbers this season. So, yeah, MVP type guy. Honestly, there's a couple of those guys on the team right now that I think could make a bid for that. But, yeah, Gunnar definitely the front runner for the team on it as far as MVP is concerned.
So here's my thing. People have the expectation that Jackson is supposed to be better than an MVP candidate on the team in Gunnar Henderson. Like, Gunnar Henderson is one of the best players in the world. Yeah. And I think that that's where people have to understand at times. Jackson can turn out to be everything that people hope, but the hype around Jackson feels even more centered than it was around Gunnar. And maybe because the team was trying to be on the up and up, they were still number one overall prospects, but the pressure that Jackson's had more right now to what Gunnar has become, that's hard too. So I think when we put that all together, there's a lot of expectations on the line. And that's why I think a guy like Westberg is starting to settle in, is because everyone's like, oh, who don't even know about Westberg except us. We said Westberg would be who he is. But when you're allowed to go play without any other outside factor, when you're trying to figure it out, I mean, shit, at 20 years old, I'll tell you what, I had nothing figured out, personally, professionally. And this guy is trying to figure it out on the professional side, on one of the best teams in all of baseball, in the toughest division in all of baseball.
Well, and Westberg struggled, late last year too when he was called up. So, they all do, and I think it just one of those things where he was so overhyped coming into the season. Everybody wanted him to start opening day, and now those same people want him sent back down that were complaining about him not starting opening day. I just have to believe they're the same people that want him to send back down. So, I think that it just has to take patience. Look, Willie Mays' father threatened him to stay in the bigs, or he wasn't going to let him back into the house because he was struggling so bad, starting up. And then Willie Mays became Willie Mays, right? So I'm not saying Jackson Holliday is going to be that guy, but even the best, some of the greatest of all time, struggle coming into the big leagues. And so it's just going to take some time, just going to take some patience. And Jackson's going to be just fine, especially with how well the team's doing anyway. What do we say, Zach, before we went on? It was 9-3, 9-3, which since Jackson Holliday started. So, there's nothing to worry about. I said something about this, Ryan, and we can move on to the bullpen. Little bit sketch this series in particular. I know KC is a good team, but when Dean throws a gem, only allows one run, then the bullpen comes in and kind of makes a mess of things. The day before, it wasn't great either. So, it just not that I would say there's any sort of panic meter going off, but definitely a rough series for the bullpen in general. What's your feedback on that?
Well, can I say one more thing about Jackson quickly before we go?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so pretty much we've seen it with Adley, seen it with Gunnar. Even if you want to go with Colton, Westberg, Grayson Rodriguez, some of these really hyped up prospects, they need some time. And I made this comparison. My government name is Locked On Ravens. I'm going to make the comparison here because that is my name. When Patrick Queen came into the league in 2020, there was a lot of hype about him because he was this guy that wasn't supposed to fall in this, that, and the other. But the Ravens have always been a consistently good team. Now, Patrick Queen was jumping into a role, and the expectation was you're not allowed to mess up. You're not allowed to make mistakes because the expectations for this team are so high already. Every mistake you make could cost this or cost that. If he was on a team, who was bad? I think Jacksonville still wasn't great at the time. So if he was on Jacksonville, the room for error would have been a lot greater in terms of, okay, you made that mistake. That's okay. We're rebuilding. You're growing with us. With this Orioles team, it's a weird combination. It's a good weird, by the way, because they're super young. They're all learning and growing together. But with Jackson, if he was on a team that didn't have a ton of expectations and he had this streak, the conversation would be, all right, still not great, but it's okay because we're learning, we're growing, we're not expecting anything. Now, the good part, and Brad and Zach, you talked about it, was the Orioles are still winning the games when he's not hitting. So that's the good part about it. Right. But I just think the expectations about Jackson right now, they're so, I don't want to say inflated, that's not the right word, but they're put on such a higher pedestal in terms of you have to do this right now with no prior MLB experience because the expectations around this team are so high. And I mean, as they should be. This is a really good team, but Jackson is learning as he goes with a team that's still winning the games he plays, even though he's struggling hitting-wise right now.
Yeah. And I think in general, like to just close with that, and I'll get into the bullpen. He's a kid. He's 20. Like I said, I mean, he can't take shots at tequila, but I can for him, to try to get by this situation. He's fine. There's a lot more. I think the biggest thing is you need to stop harping on the negatives of what a guy's trying to figure out, a talented player's trying to figure out, and start to focus on a lot of the positives that are happening right now is that the Orioles are finding different ways to win despite not having it all together.